Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the central nervous system or the CNS, the PNS or the peripheral nervous system, and the endocrine system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The parts that we're going to start to talk about first are the brain parts. The brain stem consists of three parts. It consists of the medulla, the reticular formation, and the pons. The medulla is responsible for heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, coughing, and swallowing. If you have any kind of damage to the medulla, the likelihood is that you will die. As the medulla really works with all the life-sustaining mechanisms of your body. The reticular formation deals with arousal and attention of when you are awake and alert and aroused, and how attentive you are to specific items or details. The cerebellum is a part of the brain that deals with movement, specifically smooth movements such as walking in a straight line. Um, the thalamus is the part of the brain that is your relay system. It's kind of like Grand Central Station. Basically, what it does is it takes messages and it sends them to the higher brain functions. So all messages do kind of pass through the thalamus. But one of the things that actually is created within the thalamus is your pain response and how strong you feel pain towards one hurt or one injury to another injury. The hypothalamus is your most influential brain structure. It basically houses or plays a part in everything that the medulla does not. So it deals with how your how much you eat. It deals with how sexually active you are. It deals with whether you're hot or cold. It deals with your biological clock of when you wake up and when you go to sleep. So it plays a part in many different functions, but it does not deal with heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, coughing, or swallowing. Okay. The limbic system is a group of brain structures that include the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala deals with aversive stimuli. It houses your memories of past events that were scary or aversive. Things like if you were in an area where you didn't feel comfortable, it would house that memory. So then the next time you went in that area, you would feel that unease because of the memory of that experience. And the hippocampus deals with recall, specifically learning new material and the recall of the new material. So your hippocampus is the part that you would blame yourself, or blame for if you forgot a question on a test or you studied and you didn't remember certain information. Now, the cerebrum is the outer layer of the brain, and it is split into two hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And those two hemispheres are held together by a portion of the brain called the corpus callosum. This is a thick band of fibers that holds the two hemispheres together so that messages can go back and forth between the hemispheres. There is a surgery called a split brain procedure, which will cut the corpus callosum, and this is used in individuals who have extreme epilepsy. And because the messages are sparking so fast between the hemispheres, it's creating the epileptic episodes. So what they will do is they will split the brain so the message is slow, and therefore it slows down the epileptic seizures. The other thing we want to talk about with the CNS is the lobes of the brain. The lobes of the brain are the four major areas of the brain. So the frontal lobe is in the front of the head. It is the largest lobe. It goes from the front of your head to the middle of the top. And the frontal lobe really deals with motor. It deals with motor memory of being able to walk, being able to think. It is the last lobe to actually develop. And most people, the frontal lobe is not fully developed until they're 25. The parietal lobe, the big word for the parietal lobe, which is located on the top of your head until your head starts to curve down the back. The parietal lobe, the big word is touch. It deals with how things feel. It lets you be aware of whether you're sitting or you're standing, whether you're holding an apple or an orange based on the feeling of them. The occipital lobe is located in the back of your head, right directly behind your eyes. And the occipital lobe, the big word in that is vision. It deals with your vision and how you perceive objects and how you create 3D images. Your visual cord or your occipital lobe and your visual cortex actually attach to both eyes. So it is the only sense that we have that actually is connected to the same side of the brain. So your left eye is connected to your left side of your occipital lobe, but it is also your left eye is also connected to your right side. And that's what allows us to see the world in three dimensions and allows us to be able to create perceptions with our visualization. And your temporal lobe is located right above your ears, and it is your auditory, it houses your auditory information. So it allows you to hear different sounds and be able to house the memories for those different sounds. So that if you hear sirens, for an example, you would know whether it's an ambulance or a fire truck or a police car based on the sound of the siren. Now, the next system we're going to look at is the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system, or PNS, is broken into two parts. These are all the nerves that go up your legs, all the nerves in your arms, all the nerves in your chest that are connecting to your spinal cord, which then connects to your brain. So within the peripheral nervous system, there's the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system houses all your sensory nerves and your motor nerves. So if you get stung by a bee on your arm, the sensory nerves will identify that as a hurt and a bee sting and will send that to the structures in your brain. Okay. Um, the somatic nervous system also happens voluntarily. For an example, if you pull out a milk out of your refrigerator and the milk says it expired on September 13th and it's now October 8th, if you smell the milk, it will allow you to sense whether the milk is bad or good. And it also works with your movement, so it allows you to be able to walk, to feel the pressure on your feet, to also know when you're sitting, and to feel the pressure on your back and your behind. The autonomic nervous system is not voluntary, it's happening automatically. The autonomic nervous system houses all the processes that are going on in your body automatically, like your heartbeat, your digestion, your breathing. And that's broken up into two systems, the sympathetic nervous system, which is your stress response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your peace response. These two systems have to happen together. So it's good to have stress. And having stress is looked upon as not a bad thing, but you also need to be able to bring your body back to peace. So you need to have both of these working together. Now, the sympathetic nervous system they have developed has shown that there are three responses that most people have when they're dealing with a stress or a crisis event. They have a fight response, a flight response, or a freeze response. The fight response is that they work through the stress. So let's say that your stress is that you just remembered you have a 10-page paper due tomorrow. A fighter would be the type of person that would work through the stress by staying up all night if they had to, getting the paper done and handing it in. Even if it wasn't their best paper, they fight through the issue. A flighter is somebody who runs away from their problems. So if they have, or runs away from their stress. So if they have a paper due tomorrow, they would be the type of student that would say, I'm just not doing it. And they wouldn't worry about it. They would just be like, I can't get it done. I'm just going to forget about it. And then the freezers are individuals who, when stress appears, they can't run and they can't work through it. They just kind of freeze in place. So these are the individuals that kind of break down emotionally. They may break down mentally, but they can't get themselves into that fight response where they'll actually work through the issue. And they can't get themselves into the flight response where they just say, oh, forget about it. I can't get it done. I'm just going to forget it. Okay. The parasympathetic nervous system, as I said, brings you back to peace. So it is the system that calms down your digestive system, it calms down your breathing, calms down your heart rate, and brings you back to a peaceful state. Now, the final system that we're going to talk about is the endocrine system. The endocrine system is a bunch of ductless glands throughout your body that produce hormones. So now we're not talking about neurotransmitters, we're talking about hormones. And these hormones, these ductless glands that produce the hormones, they all are run by a small pea-like structure in your brain. It's the size of a pea, and it's called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the small pea in the brain that tells all the rest of the endocrine system to start working, and it does that in the puberty years. Okay, so the pituitary gland is also responsible for growth. So it will decide how tall you are or how short you are. But it's mainly responsible for growth in the sense of whether you would be a giant or a dwarf. With the normal levels of growth, that plays DNA plays a part in that, and there's a couple other things working. Okay, the second part of the endocrine system is your thyroid. Your thyroid is located in your neck, and it deals with how fast you metabolize food. So people that have hypothyroidism or hypothyroidism means that their food is not processing fast, and they will tend to gain weight very quickly. People who have hyperthyroidism, their food tends to be processing very quickly, and they tend to lose weight and eat large amounts and still lose weight. So the thyroid is really dealing with the metabolism of food. Your pancreas deals with your blood sugar levels. That's located right near your stomach. And that's really dealing with your blood sugar and dealing with insulin and glucagon to regulate your blood sugar levels in your body. Your adrenal glands are located right on top of your kidney. They're just little small glands that are on top of each kidney. And your adrenal glands work with norepinephrine and epinephrine as hormones. So this is your non-adrenaline and your adrenaline, but in the hormone state. So this will be what releases if you're doing strenuous exercise. It also will help with the metabolism of your food intake. And then your gonads are your sex glands, and they are ovaries for females and testes for males. The primary hormone that comes out of them is the androgens for the males and the estrogen and progesterone for the female. So the androgen for the male includes testosterone, but it is a group of hormones, and testosterone specifically is for sexual motivation. The estrogen and progesterone in females is for the menstrual cycle and regulating the menstrual cycle, and also for reproduction and for pregnancy. All individuals, males and females, do have testosterone, and all individuals do have estrogen. Males just have more testosterone, and females have more estrogen. Okay. And that is the end of the material for your second unit. The next thing we're going to talk about is sensation and perception. Have a great day.